Another really interesting feature in Excel is the one called Auto Calculate. Now, if I select the group of cells from B6 all the way to G6, notice that in the status bar, which is down here on the bottom of your working area, I see a calculation for the average of those numbers, the number of entries, that would be a count, the sum of those numbers. Now I'm getting this because the status bar has an instruction that says to display those things. Now if I do a right click at the status bar, I get to see the things that will be shown in this area at the bottom of the working area. If I would like to have the highest number in that sequence be shown, I could click at maximum. Okay, then if I click away, notice that now I have the maximum being shown. Okay, if I do a right click again, I could deselect maximum from the list. Okay, then click away, and again it's showing me the average, the count, and the sum. Now let's talk a little bit about the editing capabilities of Excel. If I want to change the content of a cell, let's say I wanted to say federal government in here. Well, if I click at this cell, notice that the content of this cell is also displayed right here in the formula bar. Well, if I want to make changes to this, I could make changes right here inside the cell directly, or I can make the changes inside the formula bar. If you point exactly at the character where you would like to have something be inserted, you can click, and by default Excel is in an insert mode, meaning that if I type, the text will continue moving to the right to make room for the new set of characters that I want to type in there. So I'm going to type in federal space, and now as I'm making the changes here, they also get reflected in here. So if I hit enter, it now shows up in here. Now I'm going to double click the column width to show the whole word. Okay, so now I can see my change in here. Another way to make corrections is to go to the cell itself. Now if I point in here and double click, now I'm doing the editing within the cell. This is called in-cell editing. So if I decide that I do not want the word federal in here, I can point right before the G, and then I could do backspace, and now if I click the check mark in here, my correction has been done. Another way to make a correction inside a cell, is the equivalent of double clicking within the cell, is to press the F2 key. Now when you do that, you will see the cursor appear at the end of the selection that you had. So in here you can add some more text, delete, and so on. Once you have the cursor inside the cell, you could go to the beginning of the cell by pressing the home key. You could go to the end of the cell by pressing the end key. And if we had multiple words within that entry, you could do control and the left arrow or right arrow to move word by word. Once again, I'm going to go to the beginning and I'm going to type in federal and then enter. Now if I change my mind and I decide that I didn't want the word federal in here, that I just wanted to have government in here, I could use undo. Now undo is a feature that allows you to cancel the last action that you perform that changed the content of your work. You can use undo by going to the quick access toolbar and pointing at that curly left pointing arrow. That's one way. Or it says that you can use Control Z. Now Control Z cancels the last action that you performed. Now since the last action that I performed was to add the word federal to this cell, if I do Control Z, now it puts me this back without the word federal. Now, if I keep on doing undo and then undo and then undo, I'm going to be able to basically go back a number of times, okay, in my work. Now, Excel remembers the last 100 changes that you did to your work. So you could actually go back 100 times into your work. If you decide that you went back a little too far, then you can use redo, which is the opposite of undo. So if I do undo, 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 okay, and then I realize that I went too far, you can use redo, which is the right pointing arrow in here, and it says that you could do that by using Control Y. So if I do Control Y, it basically walks me back forward. Okay, so I'm going to undo and leave